Hey guys, it's Taivy, your favorite content creator. For today's video, I just wanted to come on here and make an announcement. I'm excited to finally tell you guys that season 2 of my podcast is coming soon. I'm also making this video because I wanted to tell you guys more about what the podcast actually was and what it is, and I wanted you guys to get the chance to meet my co-host and very, very good friend, Kerrin and I sat down together and I recorded it for you guys, which you guys will see in a moment, of us talking about our show and what it means to us and why we're so excited to finally release it. Tribe was a passion project for me that started to blossom as I was finishing college, and I wanted to not give up on it, and I wanted to continue to use the podcast and build up that platform so I could share opinions and have conversations about things that I might not have on this channel. I'm a very talkative person, as you may or may not have realized, so making a podcast was definitely a smart idea. I'm just super excited. Season 2 is finally here. We were definitely aiming to release season 2 sooner in the beginning of the year, but you know, life just gets crazy and we are still in a panoramic. Life definitely delayed our recordings and delayed our timing, but we are here, we are ready, we are prepared, we're so excited. But I'm gonna stop talking and I'm just going to let you guys tune into our conversation about the show. And after you listen to us talking about the show, the trailer for season 2 will play right after. Alright, I'm going to shut up now. Just enjoy the rest of the video.
Hey Kerrin.
Hello.
So today we are going to talk about our show, Tribe Podcast, like what it means to both of us, why we decided to do it, and I guess our experiences on running a podcast ourselves. If you want to start, you can introduce yourself a bit to my channel.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Kerrin. I am the co-host on Tribe Podcast, and I am one of Tavy's good friends. Y'all never have seen me before, but I'm there. I also am currently in school right now, and I am a visual artist. I'm in school for illustration, so I also do a lot of the artwork for Tribe Podcast that me and Taivy collaborate on, and yeah.
So Kerrin and I first met because we were roommates and classmates, actually. First classmates at FIT, and then we ended up being roommates because we got along so well our first year together at FIT that we said, you know what, let's be roommates for the next year, because we honestly just had the best chemistry. Tribe came about when Kerrin and I would always sit in our kitchen. We had a communal kitchen. When we sat in the kitchen, we always ended up talking about personal things. We always talked about race. I mean, our campus was always full of drama and scandal, and living in New York City, there's always a question of or comment about diversity, inclusivity, and everything. So those are just some of the topics we would always be just talking about, whether we were cooking or doing homework. We would sit down, and it seemed like our kitchen table is where all of our deep philosophical questions and conversations happened. Even outside friends would come over and find themselves just having this discourse with us at the kitchen table. And every time one of us would say, oh my God, like, why don't we have a podcast? Or why don't we have our own show? Because the stuff we're talking about, other people need to listen in our conversation and know what we're talking about. This is just too good not to put out there in a more formal setting. I'm an entrepreneurship major. I studied entrepreneurship, and the ending of my junior year, I had to take a course where I had to build a business, and I was collaborating with some other people on the concept of a lounge. I ended up pivoting and making this project kind of my own. I wanted to create a lounge that was sort of a open space where all types of people could come together and just be the place people hang out, where people discuss things. Like, took the concept of a parlor and wanted that to be like a modern young twist in our millennial Generation Z generation. So what ended up happening was I realized how eclectic all my friends were, and together when I'm just around different people, I feel like we form the coolest tribe of creative people, of forward thinkers. No one's really competing. Everyone's just sort of existing together, and the conversations and the amazing things that we come up with together is just impeccable. So going into my senior year, I needed to expand upon that original concept of a lounge, but obviously COVID happened, and I no longer like the concept of there being an open space where people were going to be around each other. So how do we still entertain other people and talk about things that matter to us, even if not in a physical space? And a podcast seemed like the most logical idea. That was like the next best thing. So what was it, like fall of my senior year?
It was like literally December of 2019.
Yeah.
That next year. Yep.
I came to Kerrin and I was like, well, you know how we're always having these great conversations. Well, how would you feel about starting a podcast with me and us actually just taking our real personal conversations, our deep thoughts, and putting them onto a platform and talking about everything we talk about, but just to the public? And how did you feel about that?
I actually like the idea a lot. I was around before, like when it was just like a lounge idea, and I thought that was cool too. But like the whole podcast element of it, I thought would be just really nice to talk with you on, because it wasn't like the conversation wouldn't have felt forced, and it wasn't like we were just two random people starting like a show together. We actually knew each other, and the conversations went past like just certain topics that we had a concern about. Our topics are a lot closer to our own life experiences and like what we experienced together or what we experienced separately.
Right. I think that's awesome. I was so excited when Kerrin agreed to do the show with me, because there wasn't anyone else, even at my college, that I had such deep conversations with. Kerrin and I not only related to each other on the topic of race and gender, there were just other experiences we had of living in the same state, of being in the age group that we're in, of having this similar ambition, similar creative outlooks on life. There was a lot of layers that we connected on that made everything else like organic and easy to just understand one another. So it really, I think the show is something that made us even closer. It was definitely stressful in the beginning, trying to figure out the right way to do a podcast.
Yeah.
I remember we ended up running into the podcast workshop like a week after, or the day after I said to you I wanted to do it. There was a podcast workshop that came to campus. Her name is Her Legacy, Embraceherlegacy, I think it's called. You can tag that below. The host of that show, she actually taught us the easy steps of how to start your own podcast. And Kerrin and I both went to it. We took notes, and then we used her packet to build our show. And we started very slow at first. We just had a lot of questions. We didn't know what we were doing. One thing we did know is we wanted to be Black focused through most of our topics, but then beyond that, we do expand and accept other people and talk about other things. But we wanted to keep our point of reference having to do with our own community, because up until that point, we both weren't really familiar with a lot of podcasts that did this. It was just like experimental. So our first season happened to launch like the very beginning of January 2020, right? It was very early.
Yeah.
And we had like 6 episodes. So it pretty much ran all of January and the very beginning of February, when the world still seemed pretty normal. It felt really cool to have a real show, to hear our voices play back, and have an after discussion with our friends, our classmates. Not only was this happening in real life for me, but again, as an entrepreneurship major, this was my major. This was what I was actually doing in just one of my classes. So I was able to take the show and utilize it in presentations and show my classmates that I was working on this business outside of class. The goal was to make a show that was eventually going to grow in popularity and get more people involved. We're pretty much the very end of season 2, like preparing it to be released soon. And Kerrin and I are living in 2 different places right now. We're both still in New York, but we're far away, and I think Zoom is like the most amazing tool that was able to keep us connected. Was there anything that you are excited about for this season?
I'm looking forward to a lot of the topics that we talked about, because I feel like it's a lot more like in depth this season for me, and also it felt a lot more free and fun and like more conversation, like I feel like this time around. And I think I said this to you like before, like off camera, like it feels like we matured in some way. It kind of really shows in the conversations that we have and the stuff we talk about. That kind of is the thing I'm most excited to see, is like seeing us grow into being like our full potential. Like the whole thing about the only person that you can top is yourself. You're constantly working to be better. So
right.
That's what I'm most excited about.
I'm really excited for that too. I'm more interested in our listeners actually resonating with our topics, because I think our first approach with Tribe was to just hit every mark correctly, to just be correct, on point, and for people to take us seriously, because it was our first go around, and I didn't want the show, personally, I didn't want the show to look like, oh, this is such a little cheap hobby. This is not something that I could actually listen to. And that was a fear of mine, was it coming across as something very juvenile. And I take myself so seriously to the point where it destroys me. I need to just relax sometimes. And I love the fact that Kerrin and I laugh so much off camera. We're just two funny individuals who have beautiful senses of humor. I'm happy that comes across on our second season a lot. I know in the first season there's like moments where we're cracking up, but
yeah,
I like the fact that that's more apparent in our second season, and we're just giving you our honest opinions about things, and we don't sugarcoat anything or censor ourselves, because we don't know who's really out there listening. And I think that our stories could be something that really helps other people. Anyone could do it. I mean, if we did it, yeah, anyone else could.
Right, and we were doing it like while we were still in school, taking classes, like
yeah.
like you have to think about, like, you were in your senior year, I was in my sophomore, but like the fact that you were still able to create this whole thing, because yes, I do have a part in it, but I feel like if it weren't for Tavy's idea of thinking about like putting the whole thing together and being in her major, learning about entrepreneurship and having like that project to go off of, I feel like Tribe wouldn't have existed. It's so random, but like when we first met, I don't know, I tell this story and she doesn't remember, but like I remember her emailing me about us being roommates way before I came to campus or anything, and I was like, oh no, I already found a place to live. But and then later on I was like, actually, you were supposed to be my roommate when I first came here, and you said, I don't remember that, and then you looked up my name in your emails and you were like, oh my god,
that's so funny. I forgot about that. Yeah, like I really reached out to, I think you can pick your roommates like through their portal opportunity when you're a new student, and I just saw her name, and I think I saw either like the stuff in her description was very much like she was clearly a woman, clearly African American, clearly like into stuff that I was into.
Yeah.
So I was like, I mean, for me, that's very important. Like I needed to live with people that I looked like. I know they say not all skin folk is kinfolk or whatever, but you got to take a chance. I just needed someone who I can, talk about hair products with, about, just kick it with, and when she turned me down, I remember thinking, okay, I'll just, find someone else. But it's just, that's so funny how it ended up being like we should have been roommates, because we both actually we both went through hell our first years at FIT with roommates. This is no tea, no shade, we're just telling like it is. Like we both had a very unpleasant experience living with people that we didn't exactly identify with, and we found each other anyway. We ended up being roommates.
It was just a funny way of the universe being like, okay, that way didn't work, so let's just try this again. And it's like,
Right.
And then we ended up being friends later on anyways.
I believe some people are just meant to be around each other. And I couldn't have done this show with anyone else but Kerrin. She really is a solid person. I've watched her blossom. I watched her really grow up into the woman that she is now. We're still growing. We still both are, but we helped each other a lot become more solid and prepared for the show. And I'm just excited that I get to finally like introduce you guys to my best friend and co-host. She really does have my back for everything, and I know she says the show couldn't happen without me, but I feel the same exact way with her too. Like, even though I know how to do artwork, I know how to do certain things, like her vision is very much her own, and it's very complementary to mine, and everything that she's contributed to the show so far, even before you guys hear it, it's just great. I mean, who knows, season 3, maybe you'll just be doing some more editing and do some more engineering work and producing, but that'll just be your next task. But you've been great so far, and I'm excited for us to come back stronger with another season and show everybody what we've been working on during this pandemic.
Thank you. Likewise.
Okay, well, I think that's everything. Again, you guys, our second season will premiere sometime this month. Ideally, our first episode will come out March 16th, which is a Tuesday at 12. But keep following us on our social media accounts. I'm going to post all of Kerrin's links down below. You guys can follow her and keep up with what she's doing. And I'll also link the YouTube channel for Tribe. We will be posting our episodes on there periodically just to get them on another platform. But I guess that's everything for today. Thank you, Kerrin, for talking with me, showing your face and everything on my YouTube channel.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Don't ask your Black friends, go ask Google.
What?
We're all gonna die tomorrow. So like they're trying to find like other people to like.
What does it mean to be spiritual? What does it mean to be a witch?
If you don't end up becoming a different person by the end of the year, this year was very kind to you.
Welcome to the Tribe Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Taivy.
And I'm Kerrin.
Here at Tribe, we have honest conversations about real subjects within the Black community. As 2 Black women living in New York, you get to see things through our eyes, how we view the world.
And so we talk about things our community tends to hide. We open a dialogue to confront mental health, generational curses, racial divides, politics, and more.
But it's not all bad. Tribe is also about growth and prosperity. We take the time to connect on topics of wellness, spirituality, and creativity.
We introduce you guys to dope artists and special guests from all genres.
And connect with our listeners by asking y'all to join in on the conversation every week.
Come join us on this journey as we build our tribe.